I'm going to tell you then a little bit about myself that I wasn't able to tell you in at the start. And as I mentioned, I'm new to politics. I have never worked in politics before. This is something that I am doing because I believe strongly that our government should be of the people, for the people, and by the people. And I believe that we as citizens and as community members should be willing to step up and do this work to represent each other and be voices for each other. My background is in education and human services. I started off as a public school teacher. I spent several years, like I said, working in HIV prevention, and for the past 8 years nearly, I've been working for an education nonprofit. And what I do there is I write grants for public school districts. I do trainings for teachers and principals, and I do evaluations of grant-funded programs. And what that means is I go into school districts and I help them measure their programs for efficacy, success, and whether or not they're meeting their goals. And if they're not, I help them figure out why. I help them get more efficient and then back on track. This is about providing accountability and transparency for funders and funding sources. And it's actually about us as taxpayers. San Diego has a pretty spotty history when it comes to providing this kind of oversight and accountability for us. We see every year, it seems, there's some kind of scandal or some kind of fiasco. I think the most recent one that we can probably look at is the Balboa Park Centennial Inc. debacle that happened earlier this year with $2.6 million basically evaporating into thin air, and no accountability, no oversight of that project and that program. Why is that? So I have the professional experience. I've been doing this for school districts for the past 7.5 years. I'm going to go into City Hall if you let me, and I'm going to do this for us. I'm going to make sure that there's a system that allows us to really see and track how our monies are being spent, whether or not we're receiving the services that we are paying for. And if they're not going well, if things are going sideways, then let's figure that out. Let's stop and recalibrate, or let's just decide not to do this any longer. And really be able to say to taxpayers, this is what you're paying for, this is what you're going to get, and this is how you can see that that's happening. It's a real issue for me. And in terms of where that money goes, that the Balboa Park Centennial Inc. money, that's almost $3 million that disappeared that we could have used to fill our potholes, to repave our streets, to create after-school programs, to beef up our public safety. There are so many ways that we could have used that money, and there are so many ways that other monies have disappeared or been overspent. The Kroll report, anybody hear about that one? I don't know if you have, but it was basically a report that the city commissioned for $250,000 that was supposed to be about the city's financial situation. Do you know how much it ended up costing us? $20 million. We ended up paying $20 million for a stack of paper. A stack of paper. It's unbelievable. And these things happen, and they happen over and over again, and it's just too much. We've got to say stop. So I'm asking for your support. I'm asking for your support in November in the form of a vote. And I'm not just asking for your support in the form of a vote, I'm asking that once I get into office, you stand with me. I am an outsider. I'm going to take on the establishment. I'm going to do it. But I need you to stand with me because the establishment is what it is, right? So I believe that if we stand together and we raise our voices together, the voices, the sound of our voices, it's going to be louder than the sound of money, and that we'll be able to really make the changes that we need to see as taxpayers, as residents, and as proud San Diegans in our city. So I ask for your support. I thank you so much for being here tonight. And I want to remind you of something that the famous Margaret Mead once said, which is never doubt the ability of a small group of concerned and thoughtful citizens to change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. So I hope that you believe in that as much as I do, and I thank you again for being here.
Wow. Thank you.